Tesla closed the day up 6.66%, and we closed the day up $29,000 in realized profits, most of that coming from Tesla, which we're going to go over these trades. And I'm still holding on to our June calls for Tesla, which are up about 45% on at this point. You guys know that we've been calling these calls out for a while, especially as we are sitting here within our market bias. And in this video, we are going to go over where I plan to take my profits, because I think that Tesla can still push up to $200, maybe even $212 by middle to end of June. I posted yesterday on my X that on April 29th, Tesla saw 249 million shares, which was its largest volume base that we've seen in over a year. And you guys know that we love to wait for price to break through our resistance point or our structure support, and then from there to pull back into the market bias, waiting for price to bounce and hopefully push back up into a higher high. And that is exactly what happened today. And what was very important today as well is that we saw the BX trender not only stay bullish, but now this moving average, which is going to show us how strong the recent strength is in this move, is about to be pushed all the way to the top, which means that this is not going to be a real choppy push, that this should be a strong breakout. You can see that last time this occurred, the histogram, these vertical bars were still red. That's how you know that in most cases, this isn't going to be the push. But instead, when we start to see this histogram find a bottom and come back up into making higher highs, this is showing real strength. And so I think that we are going to see probably within the next week to 2 weeks, this continued move of 10% back up to $200 to $204, which is why I'm still holding on to my June calls. I'm still holding on to them. I'm in a full position. And tomorrow, once we push up over 1 to 200, that's when I'll release half of my position. At that point, I should be up about 100% on those call options. And from there, we will, like I said, close half of them out at 200 and continue to hold the rest up into 204, 208, and 212. I think the absolute highs that we see on Tesla in the next months is probably back up to that 220 range before we test a potential rejection. Now let's move into the trades that were taken today for Tesla, because we had two very, very day trades. And even if you're somebody who's not a day trader, the same strategy that we're using in these day trades is to a T, the same exact strategy that we're using in this swing trade. And so I want to share it with you and explain why we took these trades. You're going to notice that the first position was this trade here, which we ended up opening this position first at 5:20, well, today at 10:15 a.m. Now, the thing that I want you to notice when it comes to my trading and trading style is that I like to enter a position with a decent size and then scale out once the breakout occurs. The reason that I do this is that I know I'm never going to sell consistently at the perfect time. You're never going to get to the point where you're going to catch a top with the entire position perfectly. If you're somebody who's been doing this as long as I have, you understand that you have to be in charge of scaling out of your positions the same way that you would be focused on, take profits off the table, especially with big positions, right? Like this trade, when I opened this, was worth $36,000. Okay. So the highest of high, not the highest of high, but when I really closed out the bulk of the position, it was a 40% return on investment. So $30,000 to start. This trade in literally about an hour now went from a $40,000 position all the way up to close to a $55,000 position, which this therefore takes the entire risk management aspect and changes everything in my portfolio, which is why you have to focus on trimming your profits. So let's talk about the actual setup and why we entered this in the first place. You're going to see that this execution first was sitting right here at 10:14. So now we're going to move over to our trading view. We're going to go to the 2-minute chart because that's what I like to trade when I'm day trading. And we're going to go back to 10:15 a.m., which is right here. At this point, you notice that price has pushed its way up this morning, and we are holding over our market bias, which is this green ribbon here. And what we want to see is to be trading with the trend. So I'm not looking to short if we end up breaking under here, because number one, I'm bullish on the bigger time frame, which is the daily. And number two, I'm not going to go against the trend for the day. So instead, what I'm looking for is price to continue in this structure, right? Coming down, pulling back, making a higher high. And what I was hoping for was a pullback into market bias and a quick push back up to higher high. And as you guys can see, that's not exactly what happened. But we came back down to this support level. I was setting a stop loss not right here underneath the support level because there's a very high chance that it's going to come down and touch it and I'll get tagged out of the trade, which means that I end up selling and Tesla goes the complete opposite way, which is what ended up happening. And so instead, I'm pulling this stop loss down about here so that I know this will be a clear break of structure and a clear break to the downside if this drop happens. Now, if we look at our oscillator down here, we're continuing to make lower lows on this histogram until, boom, we get this higher low. So this candle and this bounce is really our confirmation and when we should have entered. So I definitely got in a bit early. From this point, price pushes up and we continue this consolidation, but we're holding the market bias. The SMA here on our oscillator is pushed all the way to the top, and you can see that we once again have a break of structure to the upside, which we know when we come and take a higher high out that there's an 80% chance that we're going to continue to push up. So we're waiting for either this level to touch of 180, and at that point I plan to probably take half of my profits, but instead we get this massive breakout here on the 2-minute, right at 1154. We get another push. If we go over to my actual trade, you're going to see that at this candle, I closed out half of my position. And then we continue to push up into that next candle right here. This is where I close out a couple more contracts, and then I close the rest out on these next two candles. Now, I'll tell you, I did close them out a little early, and I probably should not have closed half of my trade out. What I like to do is wait until we see this oscillator start to make lower highs. So in theory, I should have closed half of my trade out all the way up at 181, which wouldn't have been a $14,000 profit. It would have been like a $1,000 profit. But as I said, my position was growing and growing as this breakout was happening. And I felt that it was just best mentally to start to pull my profits off the table. So this is going to lead us to the next trade that we took on Tesla, which was a $9,000 profit, which I also sold way too early. Now, this one happened right after that prior breakout. So we were playing that first trade here. Remember, we were waiting for consolidation. That's what ended up happening here. And then we get this massive breakout. But now look what ends up happening, right? Price once again pulls its way back down into the market bias. So we're watching to see if price can end up holding. We're consolidating across this level. We see that the SMA goes down into red, but actually crosses its way back up. And so from this point, we are looking to go long. So if we go into our executions, you're going to see that at 1240, I entered again. And of course, right, this could have been the top for the day, but we're risking so little, like not monetarily, but if entering right around here and we're setting a stop loss down here at about 180, we're risking 0.5% for at least a 1.5 to 2% upside. So that's about a 4-to-1 risk versus reward. So even if we're only right 50% of the time with this type of strategy, you're going to do more than fine. And I'm actually going to show you guys proof of that in a moment. So from here, we get this bounce off of market bias and we get this massive run. So as this run is continuing to move up, you're going to see that we're holding over the market bias. SMA on the oscillator is locked all the way up to the top. And you're going to see that I ended up closing out my first layer here at about 1332 and close the rest. And look at how early I closed, guys. This was a $10,000 profit. If I would have held this all the way up to 186, could have been another 20 grand. I could have made potentially $60,000 on Tesla today, but I'm not mad. I'm never going to trade perfect. All I want to do though is just continue to trade my strategy. Oh, and then again, into the end of the day, we actually opened up some more calls on Tesla, which I can show you guys these ones very briefly. This is a much smaller position, but these expire on the 31st. And so I think the Tesla's going to continue to run and we're going to continue to play this uptrend until the trend breaks, and then we'll move on to something else. So I hope that this video helped, guys. If you want to learn this exact strategy, it is a very simple 2-step strategy. And like I said before too, like if we look at my trading history, I don't have the best win rate, 64% win rate. If we just look to it at the past month since we started implementing this day trade strategy, we call it MBBX. This strategy right here, $50,000 so far. It's only about 10 days, but a 50% win rate. So it goes to show you that as long as you have a solid risk versus reward strategy and that you can stick to those risk parameters, you will be more than fine with only a 50-50 win rate. Thank you guys for all the support. If you want to trade with me every day, go check us out with the private academy. Link is in the description. Or if you are a part of our X community, you can just go to my profile, go and join here. Thank you guys for all the support. I'll see you next time.